All right, platoon, fall in. It's the Joe and the Jarhead Show. As ever, I am Joe, representing United States Army. With me, as ever, my homie,
Jarhead!
representing
United States Marine Corps.
Oh, he was even there on time this evening.
Hoorah! That's doing it right there. Am I
Cool.
right? I am right. Okay, we got some mad news coming at you today. Depends
Mad?
on when you're watching this. It is kind of mad.
Okay.
I bet the Iranians are pretty mad. Some of them, at least. Some of them were forced to celebrate. We'll get into it.
Hey, you know who finally
smoke.
quit smoking this week? General Soleimani.
It's funny because it's true. Okay, marijuana's getting pretty mad over there in Illinois, too. Oh, and Ricky G. Dog.
Ricky Gervais.
Owning the gold. Oh,
he
my
is
God.
my favorite atheist right now.
I love you, dude. We'll talk about him.
I tolerate you.
And it's pretty mad over there in Australia right now. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into that.
Megatron, that is bad juju.
But before we get into all of that, it just makes common sense to start with the history article.
I like it. I see what you did there. That's
Boom.
well played to you, my friend.
Setting you up for the win.
Wow, bump, set, and spike. So this week in history, 1776, Thomas Paine published his little pamphlet called Common Sense,
Boom.
which was essentially it stated the case for the revolution, because most colonists at the time considered Britain to be America's patron country, the one that got us, and to a greater or lesser extent, it was. It was, the original 13 colonies were British colonies.
Right? Yep.
But there weren't just British citizens here. There were French. There were Dutch. I mean, for crying out loud, New York City used to be New Amsterdam. It used to be a Dutch colony. Down in Florida, there was Spanish. This was, America was already, even in its infancy, was already a melting pot. And this, he helped really seal that with this book or pamphlet, saying, Europe is the patron nation of the United States, where it's not just Britain.
Right.
And it really helped draw the colonies together and really flared support for the revolution. And all that can be traced back to Thomas Paine. Like, he essentially, I won't say single-handed, because there were a lot of really influential figures, but you had James Madison and John Jay and the others writing the Federalist Papers that stated the case of what they think a government, why it needed to be independent, and what they thought it should look like.
Those
And
came much later, though, right?
those were actually earlier.
No. Common Sense pamphlet? Really?
Wait, no, I'm wrong. But I mean, they encapsulated what we wanted the government to look like. This was, we need to be independent.
Okay, yeah.
And it worked really well. After the war, and not so much, Paine kind of went off the deep end. He was a big supporter of the French Revolution, which did not go well. Like, he argued for the rights of man, which was the kind of the underpinning of the French Revolution. I don't understand why he went that direction, because the rights of man spells out what rights people have vis-a-vis the United States, which is you have a right to anything that does not come at the expense of another person.
Okay.
It's not a set of positive liberties for people. Our government is restrictions on the government. They say you already have all this stuff and the government can't take it from you, which is why the French Revolution was an absolute bloodbath, because you have people arguing over what rights people should have, what rights they shouldn't have, democracy versus republic versus monarchy, and just god-awful.
Interesting. So he started supporting all that, huh?
Yeah, and yeah, he...
Still, it doesn't undercount or underplay.
No, it
his
doesn't.
common sense.
But it just goes to show that even the best people can kind of get off the rails after a while. If all you know is being revolutionary, you're always looking for the next revolution. So, but in terms of getting this one started, I think you can point to him as one of the singular figures that actually got us off the ground as far as the revolution.
Right. Yeah, he did an amazing job. I mean, they took snippets out of that pamphlet for years and posted them in papers.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that got distributed mainly through hand to hand, family to family.
Yeah, it's exactly. Well, it sold 500,000 copies, but
Which was probably the entire population.
pretty much back then. But it was a lot of. Hey, I got this. This is really cool. You should check this out because they didn't have email back then. You can't just forward all. You know, you had to send your copy around.
How horrible that must have been.
Right.
Sorry, guys. I don't know how you did it. All right. Can we talk about politics real quick?
Well, I mean, I thought we were, but yeah, let's go ahead. Sure. Politics.
Keep going. Today's politics because Julian castrated Castro, he's no longer in.
Oh, Julian Castro dropped out of the race?
And your favorite gal, Marianne Williamson, she's no longer in either.
So she's not going to defeat Trump with love this election cycle?
And happy energy juice. Nope.
Yeah.
So insert your sad emoji face here.
Oh.
That's sad. Okay. But I'll tell you what, folks is feeling the burn, dude.
Yeah, he raised
burning.
a ton of cash.
$34.5 million in one quarter. So in the last quarter of last year, 2019. Fourth quarter. That is a lot of millions.
Y'all who are donating that much to Bernie's campaign, get used to spending that kind of money.
I see what you did there.
He's going to tax the hell out of you.
Yep. And Biden, he raised $22.7 million. But then here comes Mr. Trump train, $46 million.
Good on him.
In one quarter. Just combine all those millions of dollars. Who are these people that are donating this massive amount of money?
Well, if you look at Bernie, I mean, he published, when he published his numbers, he had like 1.8 million people. Like it works out to about $20 a person.
Yeah, so the majority of those people are $20
a huge grassroots base that's everyone giving a little bit. Which, get used to that because that's what he's going to demand of everyone. Everyone gives a little bit. And then when that's not enough, it's a little bit more.
It's a lot of bit.
And then a lot more. And then everything you have or you get shot. Yeah.
So check this out. Mr. Biden, he changed his logo, and I think it's kind of cool. He changed it to Battle for the Soul of the Nation. I think it's cool. Battle for the Soul. Doesn't go with him, right?
Sorry.
Right. He doesn't truly understand the soul of America, that guy, but I mean, that's a cool logo.
I have seen in American politics very few more talented and more pervasive liars than Joe Biden.
Okay, I was wondering where you're going with talent there.
If that dude told you the sky was blue, I recommend fact-checking him.
Joe Biden. The only thing he is running off of is he was Obama's wingman.
Yep.
That's all he's got.
Old Joe.
Okay, can we jump right into some marijuana madness? I'm jumping in.
What is it with you and marijuana?
Get on the marijuana madness train.
Negatron. All right, fine. Let's do this.
Illinois is now the 11th state to legalize Mary Jane.
Okay.
11th state. Check this out. In one day, the first day that it was legal,
okay,
$3.2 million of weed was sold that day.
Okay, and what's the government cut of that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, I did have numbers on that. I will get to some numbers in a minute.
They did the same thing in Colorado, and government revenue didn't really go up all that much.
Hang on. We'll get there. We'll get there in a second because, yeah, you're right.
Ahead of us.
So let's talk about state and federal because it is legal in 11 states now, but it's still not legal at the federal level. So that means people can still be drug tested in those states, and they still are because some companies can require that because it's federal law, and you still can be fired for that. And it doesn't mean you can go to Colorado or Illinois and buy marijuana and bring it back to Idaho. Nope. It can't cross state lines. Furthermore, there's an IRS code, this is kind of cool, it's called 280 ECHO that prevents marijuana businesses from deducting their usual business activities for tax purposes. So if you run a marijuana business, you can make no deductions in usual business activities. I didn't want to dig into usual, but so come tax season, they're going to end up paying a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But I guess if you just hire the right group of lawyers, then it's not. So,
or you just don't go to the approved marijuana dispensaries. You just keep going to the same dude who grows it in his backyard you always have, and you don't have to pay all those taxes.
And you undercut the people who are selling it at the regular price.
Absolutely.
And we'll get into that because the people who are selling it at the cheaper price, there's a word for that. They're called cartels or drug lords. We'll get into that. So, but now this is if you go back to like the 1920s, this is all very familiar of the big tobacco rise, right? It was the cool people who started smoking tobacco with their cool pipes. You got a buzz. It relieved your stress. It was the biggest thing ever. And everybody wanted to be part of the cool circles and start smoking. So they did, until we found out, oh man, that's killing a lot of people. It's really bad. So now we're pointing fingers at big tobacco companies saying, you guys lied to us. This stuff's killing us. Get it out of our country. Get it out of our homes. How much longer and how many more people need to die and how many new cancers do we need to find because of marijuana before this trend catches up? It's exactly what's going on.
Yep.
It's just repeating itself, just with a
I'm
different
just saying,
drug.
if God wanted you to smoke, he'd have made more volcanoes. And I understand there's a lot of legitimate medical uses for, like, in cancer patients. Like, it gives you the munchies. Those people are too sick to eat a lot. Okay. You don't have to smoke weed. They have synthetic drugs that do this exact same thing without all the bad side effects.
That's what I'm saying. I question the word legitimate. There are medical uses.
There
for
are medical
marijuana.
uses for the chemical compounds in marijuana. You do not have to smoke weed to get those benefits. They have derivatives of that. Just pop a pill. Hey, I'm hungry. Let's go eat.
Yeah, what you're talking about is like the actual oil, the cannabis oil, which
Correct.
is the best part of it. So as long as you
Chock
get the
full
THC,
of vitamins T, H, and C. Yes.
See what you did. Okay, let's talk about some truths and some claims going on. So marijuana claims that it boosts the economy, right? It creates jobs, taxes collected from all these different
Okay.
businesses, boost the economy.
Check.
Because when you sell $3.2 million, you're supposed to be raising a lot of taxes. The truth behind that is that it legalizing marijuana so far in New Mexico and Colorado, where I got these numbers, it has created a lot more money for taxpayers. So the revenue that it's creating, the taxes that are coming out of marijuana, are not covering the costs of the crap that marijuana is putting in their society, such as DUIs, increased by over 60% in Colorado.
So you're saying that intoxication doesn't have to just come from alcohol? If you get high and drive, like...
I know it's weird, Joe,
Get
but
on
bear
board.
with
I'm
me.
not. I'm having a hard time with that, man.
Okay, check out these numbers. These are coming out of Colorado. The annual societal costs from alcohol are $223.5 billion. From tobacco was $193 billion, which far exceed the cost of $24 billion. Not cost, tax revenues. So both tobacco and alcohol bring in $24 billion
Okay.
a year, but they're costing over $400 billion a year. Because the medical expenses, your ambulances, people who are...
Your federal, your state services that have to treat this stuff.
Yeah,
Fire
people who aren't
department.
insured, and taxpayers got to cover all that. Yeah, exactly. Law enforcement, doctors, all of it. So, and the same thing applies with marijuana. A couple more I want to you talked about the black markets, like people who aren't going to the dispensaries.
No, why
people
would
are still
you?
growing it. Yeah. So people are saying, oh, you know what? You legalize it and it pushes out the drug lords, the cartels.
Prove that this baggie didn't come from a dispensary.
How?
Exactly.
You can take it and test it, and you can spend more tax-paying dollars testing
Right.
it. But no, the cartels are actually rising, and there's actually quotes from some drug lords taken by the DA to say, no, our business is booming, if anything, because now we can undercut those prices.
Right.
And people are actually bringing us marijuana, and we give them heroin instead. So you're boosting our other drugs because marijuana is not cutting it anymore.
Right.
So you got to have the tougher drugs. All right, last one. Marijuana is less harmful than alcohol and tobacco.
Cough, bull crap, cough.
Right? Now, I get that, like you said, Joe, yes, there's certain medical reasons to do it, and in certain aspects,
There's
yes.
medical reasons for the compounds in it, not for actually smoking it.
Correct. The argument that I will push back on there is that marijuana is doing the same thing that the vaping industry did to our younger community.
Correct. They're making it look sexy.
They are directly targeting them, and you will find that most of your emergency room visits caused by marijuana, in Colorado at least, and New Mexico, are people underage who shouldn't have even had it in the first place.
This is for those of you who can see. This is what my not shocked face looks like.
Okay, so real quick, I've yo-yoed back and forth on marijuana for a long time because I'm a big believer in individual liberties, right?
Correct.
You want to drink and get stupid? You want to smoke tobacco, smoke marijuana? Whatever. You have your own agency given to you by God, make that
Correct.
choice. But in America, I believe that law should be based on morals, on principles. And I think we've crossed the line when we start legalizing this stuff that does more damage to people and to our country than it helps. I guess you could make the same case for alcohol and tobacco as well.
Yeah, that was prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
Laws based on morality, people will circumvent them because they'd rather have the booze or the pot than the morality, because they're voluntarily taking in stuff that removes their agency from them.
Yeah, it's hard.
And if you want to blaze up in your house, if you want to friggin' get schmammered in your house, fine, do it. But the problem is people don't stay in their houses. It is a social icebreaker, right? It is a social substance. So you want to, if it's legal to do around people, you're going to go to where people are.
I love hearing that answer when you ask people, hey, do you party, do you drink, do you smoke? Yeah, I do socially. Okay, so you do. The answer is yes. Do you smoke marijuana? Socially. So the answer is yes. You smoke weed, dude.
Yeah, can you be a little bit pregnant? No, you either are or you are not.
I'm pregnant socially. All right.
I'm going to use that from now on.
So I still don't know where I fall on that line hard and fast. I don't like it. I think it does more damage to our society than it will ever do good. But yeah. I still struggle with these laws.
I do too.
I hope it never gets legalized here in our home state.
Oh God, please no.
But at the same time, again, am I trampling on somebody's individual liberties by saying we should not allow that here? It's such a fuzzy line.
It is. I'm gonna have to think about that one some more.
Don't hurt yourself.
Oh, said the Marine.
Said the Marine. Okay, Iran, General, smoking. Okay, he said. Okay. Let's do it.
So. We actually had a request from a member of the platoon to give like the Campbell's condensed soup version of the situation in Iran. So the situation in Iran...
We're going to struggle to do that, by the way. We're going to beat this one up real good.
Are we? Okay, cool.
I'm going to have fun with it.
Cool. So just last week, President Trump ordered an airstrike that killed a top Iranian general. This was General Soleimani, head of the Quds Force. If you're not familiar with the Iranian military structure, which I assume you're not because I barely am, there is, your Army, Navy, Air Force, and then they have an entire branch of their government or of their military that goes and sets up insurgencies in other countries. It's called the Quds Force.
You say insurgencies, but terrorist groups.
Yeah, it trains terror cells. They're the ones that fund Hezbollah. They're the ones that fund Hamas. They're the ones funding the rebels in Yemen. They're the ones funding the insurgencies in Iraq, in Syria, Afghanistan. Well, part of that comes from Pakistan, but part of it also does come from Iran.
Not surprised.
Yeah. So all your little homegrown insurgencies in those countries, all your terror cells, they're not really homegrown. They're funded by Iran.
And they can do it because they got oodles of money from their oil fields, right?
Which China and Russia are buying up. They also happen to get $150 billion in cash dropped off by the United States government.
What? Who would do such a thing? Criminal. Arrest him. Who did it?
Hashtag Obama.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Guilty criminal.
Right. So this general, the head of the Quds Force, he was responsible for delivering the technology and the training and the weapons themselves. We called them EFPs in Iraq. It is explosively formed penetrator. It is
my goodness.
It's a platter charge. It's a copper disc backed by a bunch of explosives. When that explosive is set off, that copper disc becomes essentially a dart, moving at about 1.2 miles a second.
A death dart.
It is. I've seen it shave the turret off an M1 Abrams tank.
That's insane.
We had nothing for a while that could stand up to these things. They have killed hundreds of U.S. soldiers. This man has an ocean of American blood on his hands.
Oh, yeah.
So we returned the favor. We killed him so bad he had to be identified by the ring he was wearing.
Now, just to clarify,
we unpersoned him hard.
It wasn't just him that died, right?
No, it was also the head of the Iraqi militia that he started up.
Oh, wow.
Or well, that he was funding. And he was a top tier bad guy. He's like one of those, like, nobody knew who Osama bin Laden was before 9/11 happened. Like, very few people outside of, like, the intelligence industry knew
Bill
him.
Clinton knew who he was. He let him go.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about that.
But General Soleimani has been a major player in killing Americans for years. And so we finally took him out.
So by took him out, do you mean we assassinated him? Because I've been seeing that a lot on social media.
It is not an assassination. There is, I want to say it was Roosevelt said, or it was either Roosevelt or Truman who signed the executive order forbidding assassination of people in other countries.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That was a thing. We didn't go into Iran and assassinate an Iranian.
No.
We blew up a terrorist from Iran who was actually in Iraq setting up attacks on Americans. There is nothing unjustified about this. Nothing at all. It was a perfectly legitimate hit. Coincidentally, that didn't make the news, we had a bunch of other strikes that smoked a bunch of other terrorists within the next few days.
And that's where I was going, because we targeted facilities, not just people, but we targeted facilities where we knew
I haven't
these people.
confirmed this, but I want to say that Trump selected 52 different targets to hit if Iran did something stupid. One for every one of the Americans that the Iranians kidnapped in
the embassy?
In the embassy in 79.
Oh, there's only 52? Interesting.
Personally, I would have selected 444 targets.
Because that's
one
how
for
long
every
they were
day they were held.
Boom! Winning.
Right?
So my struggle here with this is everybody's crying right now because Donald Trump's going to start World War III.
I kind of hope for Colin Kaepernick's sake that he does, because that's about the only chance that dude has left of getting drafted.
Boom! He's been waiting all night for that.
I really have.
Still worth it.
Oh,
okay.
I regret nothing.
I struggle with this because I want to dare Iran. I dare you. Make the next move, dude.
They're not ready. They're not ready. They have a lot of really sophisticated technology. They do have a pretty competent military, but they don't have what it takes to take us on. Not by a long shot. And everyone's not everyone. I shouldn't speak hyperbolically. The people I see who are crying against war are afraid of, Americans getting killed. Like, why are we putting Americans in harm's way? These people have been actively killing Americans and their allies, funding every group that does that for decades.
This is, and my big thing that I'll always keep going back to this is why I think it was a mistake to pull out of Syria, is because we have to keep the fight over there. We pull out of Syria, we pull out of Iraq, out of all the Middle East, and the fight comes to our homeland.
Everything runs on money. If you're right there, their most cost-effective option is to stay there. If you give them Americans far away, they don't have to spend the money right there. They can fund bigger, better operations overseas.
Plus, just stop with the argument with the boots on the ground, why we send on our boots. You know what? Everybody who has enlisted for the past 2 decades knows exactly what's going on. They know that they got a pretty solid chance of getting deployed over there.
Yep.
And I would even argue that most of them sign up just for that reason. Hoorah.
I'm saying, I part of my signing up factor was, I don't like people who use fear and intimidation and force of arms to push their will into others. I kind of like to shoot some of those people.
Yeah, I kind of like to push back.
All
right. Ready to move on?
Let's move on. What do we got?
Australia is ablaze.
Slightly less so now, but yes.
Slightly less so, but it may pick up. But millions of acres have been burned in Australia. Thousands.
The size of West Virginia, last I heard, like 54 million acres. The entire state of West Virginia.
It's insane. And it's not just one concentrated area. We'll put the map up if you're watching. It's like surrounding the coastal areas.
That's all there is of Australia. The interior is a desert. There's nothing to burn.
Nope. Yeah, well,
it's pretty much only habitable on the coasts.
Right. So thousands of homes have been torched, and 24 people at the last count have died because of these fires. So it's pretty sad. It's also pretty sad that this has been caused by climate change.
Really? Because they've arrested like 200 people for starting these fires.
No! Don't ruin climate change. Climate change.
It's climate change?
So listen to
those people definitely changed the climate, especially in Australia.
So I was looking into this. They now have set the record. Just recently, in the past week, not weeks ago when these fires started, but in the past week, they now hit a record for the highest temperature in Australia. Before that,
really,
the record for the highest temperature was in 1939. Okay. So explain your climate change, because you're supposed to be it's supposed to be going up like a degree every year, which we know it's not. But if it's real, why is the highest thing before now 1939? Do jarhead math for me. That's almost 100 years ago, dude.
Yeah, I guess it is now. Golly,
thank you.
That's depressing.
Jarhead, I didn't even have to break out my crayons. Boom. But, you just disproved climate change when you're trying to fight for climate change.
Yes, there's a lot more freaking carbon dioxide in the air now, a lot more carbon in the air now, because your entire country's on fire okay, yes, locally that will raise the temperature.
Weird how that works.
Give it a week. After the fires go out and all that is dissipated into the atmosphere, I'm willing to bet the temperature returns to normal for this time of year.
Probably. So let's talk about that, because rain, they are getting a lot of rain. Some places are getting some downpours. Some places are just getting some drizzle. And I want to talk about that real quick, Joe, because that was not on anybody's forecast. Nobody's radar. Nobody was picking that up. They said this is probably just going to get exponentially worse, because we're not expected to see any rain.
I love working with you, man.
I know you do.
I never know what's going to come out of your head. It's glorious.
So I want the rain that's coming down. Wasn't on anybody's forecast.
Nope.
I want to argue is because millions of people across the globe have been praying for Australia. I'm sure you've seen those posts.
Oh, yeah.
Blazing through social media.
Yep.
I think it's awesome.
I think that's great.
And I think it's worth mentioning that I don't think it's a stretch to say that's why they're getting rain down there right now.
That they weren't predicting? Mm-hmm. I'm comfortably certain of that.
Something else I super love about this, which I didn't know, is that the firefighters in Australia are actually unpaid. They all work on I'm not going to say all, not all, but a good chunk of them work on a volunteer basis.
Cool.
Yep. And the United States and Canada has also sent firefighters over there, also volunteering to do that.
I would so do that.
I think it's really cool.
Get to go save some people and then party in Australia?
Party in Australia? Like dancing around the fires? You mean fire dance?
No, I'll be doing rain dance. Saying.
Nobody wants to picture you dancing, buddy.
Keep talking, Bella.
The last thing I'll mention there is that we have lost. Now, I don't really trust the numbers on this, but I do believe millions of animals have been lost.
Last estimate I heard was 1 billion.
Yeah, I don't. They do have that many animals there,
if you're counting, grasshoppers and stuff, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll let that go.
I'm sure.
But the pictures on this, it is just sad. These people, entire herds, platoons of horses are just being lost.
Okay.
Come on, shout out, join the platoon. Come on.
Not if we're going to burn to death.
Set you up and you
That's a horrible ad.
Come on, man.
I'm with you. I do not like seeing scorched koalas. That is not cool.
No.
But if the poisonous stuff burns to death, I'm actually pretty cool with that. The venomous snakes and stuff. Everything in Australia is venomous.
Yeah, they're pretty. Oh man, the spiders over there are as big as our freaking laptop.
I'm saying, dude. No, thank you.
But thank you to Mr. Ricky G Dog.
Ricky Gervais.
You just owned Hollywood, dude.
That was so amazing. Like, I didn't watch it live because I don't watch any of the award shows because I hate them. They're all self-aggrandizing turds.
And they're Hollywood award shows.
Right. I don't watch any of that stuff. But Ricky Gervais emceed the Golden Globes last night, and he gave Hollywood both barrels. It was glorious.
And they so deserved it.
They did. They did.
And you can tell he planned this out. He wrote this down. He changed his script a couple times.
Oh, there was some editing happening
for
there.
sure.
Yeah.
And it was well done.
Yes. So he decried the celebrities for being disconnected from the American people, and for trying to be political actors as well as film actors. So his actual quote is, "If you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a political platform to make a political speech. You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So if you do win, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and
get
F
the
off."
bleep off stage.
Yes. Thank you, Ricky.
I loved every part of that, even the cuss word. I don't normally support F-bombs, but
yeah.
kind of deserving it there.
I'm working on it, but I mean, if you're going to use one, use it in a situation like that. So he's been taking a lot of heat for this. You would not believe the cares he does not give. Like, it is glorious. It is just cool.
And I love how just social media is just blowing up with this. I mean, that's all I'm seeing is that little, 45 seconds just being shared over and over again. Mm-hmm. Keep sharing it. We should share it.
We should.
We'll do it.
It's to have an entire room full of celebrities there to just plump each other's egos up, get completely deflated by someone who's nominally one of them. That is glorious. That is glorious.
And I like how you tied in. He is an atheist, right? He's an outspoken atheist.
Big time. Yeah, he's a lefty. He is not a conservative whatsoever.
And he's still tired of America's leftism because he's not American.
No,
right?
he is as British as it gets.
But he also told those guys, "Thank God," and get off stage.
Mm-hmm. And he also made an Epstein didn't kill himself joke.
Now, yes, he did. And then he's like, "Don't be mad. I know he's some of y'all friends."
Shut up. I don't care. Yes. Thank you, Ricky.
Old.
Thank you
Right?
very much.
Oh, man.
Good times.
That is great times. Okay. Not high times, though.
No.
Is that the show?
I got one left. I got, and this kind of ties in with Iran.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Send it.
So there are a bunch of college kids absolutely panicking right now because a lot of their college funding comes from the FAFSA program. It's the free application for federal student aid.
Okay.
In order to qualify for federal student aid, you have to be, if you're a male, you have to be registered for the draft.
Okay, yep.
They are freaking out about this because they're convinced that Trump is going to start World War III and they're going to get drafted.
How do we make that happen? Come on.
No. And it's gotten to the point that the draft board had to go on Twitter and be like, no, we're not drafting anyone right now. There is no draft. There hasn't been a draft since Vietnam. You're safe. And trust me, most of y'all are safe anyway because you wouldn't qualify for the military. if you are, a habitual pot smoker, if you can't shoot, if you can't run, if you're too freaking overweight, if you're too out of shape.
If you don't know what sex you are.
Yeah. Sorry, can't use you. Don't worry. People who do know that stuff and can do that stuff, we got you.
Yeah, we got plenty of them.
You're in no danger of being drafted.
You're not needed, you're not wanted. Let's talk about real quick how Twitter has become the way that we start talking about political business these days. Because Trump had to use it. He specifically said on Twitter, these social media posts serve as notification to Congress that if Iran strikes, we're going to kick their butt.
Yep.
I love it.
I do too.
I think it's cool. And now the FAFSA guys have to do that too?
Yeah, it is.
Sorry, no draft.
Yeah. First of all, you're technically required, if you're a male, required to register within 30 days of your 18th birthday, or you're pretty much out of the running for a lot of jobs, like any federal service job. You are donezo. You do not qualify.
Interesting. I wasn't aware.
Yep.
One more thing on the draft is that some federal judges, it's been 2 federal judges now, have said that women now have to start participating in the draft. I do not support that.
I do not support that in the slightest.
I get a lot of people want to cry equality there. Even some female soldiers, female Marines think that that's the right way to go.
No.
But it is the wrong way that America needs to go right now.
I'm saying, it's 2020 right now. This has been a movement for the last 5 years, you think? 10-ish, maybe?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So for the beginning of recorded history until 5 or 10 years ago, the entire point of a warrior culture within society was to prevent women from having to see the enemy.
Exactly.
Because if there aren't women, there is no more society. You cannot have a functional society if you're sending your women to fight. I get that some of them can do it. I'm a big believer in the notion that women aren't supposed to do everything men do. They're supposed to do everything men can't do.
Right. Exactly.
It doesn't make them less valuable. They're every bit as valuable. Their worth to a society and to God is equal, but their roles are separate.
We have a whole blog on this. We'll actually put it down in the show notes so you guys can pull up that blog. We wrote a blog on this a while ago. But I believe that women, daughters of God, have the most sacred calling on earth.
Absolutely, yes.
Cherish your motherhood. Let us do the things that you should not be involved in.
Correct.
Okay, enough of that.
We're going to take some heat for that. It's going to be awesome.
I'm not scared. Bring it.
Right?
Bring it. Not saying that we'll pick a fight, but we'd love to have a discussion with you.
I think we just did to some people.
We'd love to have discussion. Bring it.
Yes.
We won't play dirty and we won't be nasty.
I will be totally polite.
We love you, Platoon. You're the best audience on the internet. And Platoon dismissed.
Except for 5.